Welcome to this week's live conversation across LinkedIn and our Charity People YouTube channel. Today, we're talking everything volunteers as we've now just approached the end of Volunteer Week. My name is Kate Headford and I'm an Associate Director here at Charity People, and I'm responsible for recruiting volunteer positions for our charities. Today, I have joining me the lovely Jo Green, who is the Head of Fundraising and Engagement at Moorfields Eye Charity. Jo has been with Moorfields for over 5 years and actually heads up one of 2 fundraising teams at the charity. With over 25 years experience in non-for-profit organisations, I'll let Jo tell you a little bit more about herself and a little bit more about what she does over at Moorfields Eye Charity.
Thanks, Kate. It's really nice to have this opportunity to chat today, especially as it's actually the final day of Volunteers Week. So it's a really nice opportunity to be here. So as you mentioned, I head up the fundraising and engagement team at Moorfields Eye Charity, and we look after the mass and volume fundraising. So events and community fundraising sits within my team. So does individual giving, so people that set up regular gifts or might respond to one of our seasonal appeals. And also the volunteering programme also sits under my remit. You mentioned we have 2 fundraising teams. So the other fundraising team, headed up by my colleague Julia Day-Trodeson, is the philanthropy team, and they deal with individuals, trusts and foundations and organisations that can give at a more significant level. So who are we? What do we do? We're the main charity supporting Moorfields Eye Hospital and its academic partner, the UCL Institute of Ophthalmology. And we fund their innovative projects that could further the understanding of vision and eye disease and new and improved treatments and diagnoses and cures for all sorts of eye conditions and diseases. As a grant-making charity, we have several grants that are available to staff at the hospital and the institute. Many of our clinicians, nurses and allied health professionals, as well as their day-to-day clinical care duties, are also doing research into all sorts of things to improve sight loss and eye conditions. And so our remit is to help fund their work. We also do fund some pieces of state-of-the-art equipment and also professional development education too. It's a really exciting time for us at the charity, because in addition to our everyday fundraising, we're also in the middle of a major capital campaign to raise £100 million over the course of the next few years. The hospital and the institute will be relocating, hopefully at the beginning of 2027, when a new purpose-built integrated clinical and research centre is being built, and it's going to be in the Knowledge Quarter in King's Cross and St Pancras area. So it's a really, really exciting time for us. And as with our day-to-day fundraising and grant-making work and the capital campaign, in order for us to achieve this, we are in a huge growth period across the charity, both in the fundraising and grant-making teams, but also our support teams in finance and resources and communications. And we also need more people to know about us so we can increase our supporter base. Obviously, that will help us with our fundraising. And that's where our volunteer programme comes in to help us do that.
My goodness, it sounds like such an exciting time for you guys. There's already so much going on, but over the next coming years as well, it's super exciting and sounds like a brilliant time to perhaps join and become a volunteer as well.
Well, I think so.
Well, I can see that everyone's obviously joining now, so please do say hello or give us a wave in the comment box below. Before Jo shares us a little bit more about her experiences and tips for recruiting volunteers, please do pop any questions that you may have for Jo or myself in the comment box, and we'll do our best to also answer them at the end of the conversation today. So Jo, tell us a little bit more about what is your recruitment challenges?
Wow, gosh. So ours is actually a relatively new programme or volunteer programme, and we launched it just before the pandemic. So, almost immediately we launched it and we had to put a stop to it and mothball it for, probably over a year as, us and the rest of the world dealt with the pandemic and all that
Fine, yeah.
entailed. And obviously nobody at that stage had any idea how long it would be going on for. So that in itself was a challenge. Of course, we had some volunteers that were already ready to go, and then obviously over the course of 2 years priorities changed, and therefore we really had to start from scratch. And it was really last summer that we were able to start re-recruiting again, and when we were recruiting into a sort of very different situation in the hospital, which is where our volunteers are based. It was, and to a certain extent still is, extremely quiet. There were very few patients and visitors in at any one time to adhere to the strict social distancing and infection control protocols. And this meant that the general footfall in the hospital has been much lower, and therefore people for our volunteers to engage with. So I know you asked about the challenges of recruitment, but there is sort of a challenge in sort of the keeping, the motivation of our volunteers up is also, a constant thing. I guess an additional challenge we have is that we're actually not the main charity in the hospital that looks after volunteers. We have a sister charity called Friends of Moorfields, who we are very close to, work very closely with. But they are they're the main charity in the hospital that actually has volunteers, and they're very long established volunteers, and they're there to support the inpatient experience at the hospital. So helping to direct people that are there, or be a friendly face and chat to patients that might be nervous ahead of an appointment. Whereas our volunteers are there to advocate for us as a charity, to let patients, visitors, and as importantly, the staff know that we exist, and that should they wish to support our work, or equally important, again, if they're staff, that we have the opportunities available to help support their work. And often patients and some of the staff don't understand the difference between the two volunteer roles. But we are constantly working with Friends of Moorfields to improve that. We, as I say, and they've been a great source of support for us as I say, we're the new kids on the block when it comes to volunteering. they're really established. So it's great to be able to work. It's really great to be able to work with them
together. Fantastic. So in theory then, that has been a challenge, but also perhaps a bit of a benefit to have the support of your sister charity as well, but just really sort of defining the difference between what a volunteer would look like for both charities.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, then tell me a bit more then about what's worked well for your volunteer recruitment.
So we do get a lot of inquiries that come in through our volunteer page on our website. So, we're quite, it's really reassuring that we're quite often responding to inquiries that come in from that. Word of mouth seems to play a big part. For instance, we seem to have a few people that have come from they're doing optometry as that's what they're studying, and they've got some time to give. So it's quite interesting to see that, I'm sure people are talking amongst themselves, and that word of mouth thing. And we're also on volunteer recruitment boards, as well. But I guess, and this maybe goes back to a challenge actually, whilst those do work well for us, we really do need to sort of expand the opportunities to promote our volunteering programme. And we know that there are many opportunities out there. And that's actually something that we're really keen that when we recruit our volunteer officer, that is something that they are going to help us expand our reach to other areas that we can promote ourselves for volunteering.
Fantastic. So you are getting the sort of the interest in inquiries, but you do want to take it that, one step further in theory.
Yes, at the moment, although, as I say, we've got a really sort of, good page up on our website and stuff like that. We want to be far more, we need to be far more. It's not that we want to, we also know we need to be far more proactive as well in how we reach new people to come in and volunteer for us. And there are so many things that we could do more of. I mean, we do advertise in the hospital as well about come and volunteer for us, but as I said, there's also the other volunteering charity there. So it's about striking that balance in the hospital about how we promote volunteering. But, I've mentioned the volunteer officer, which is, a really, really critical role for my team that we're looking to recruit to at the moment. And this will be very much part of a part of their remit is to go out there and seek the opportunities for us.
Fantastic. So could you then give us perhaps an example of what a volunteer opportunity might look like, and perhaps the hours as well? Is there flexibility over, could it be part-time or full-time or whatnot?
The officer role or our volunteer roles?
To actually be a volunteer for you.
So our volunteers, yes. So we have one of the great things that did come out of us, the hospital being sort of shut down or much quieter over the pandemic, is we'd been petitioning for a long time to have a really fabulous charity hub in a very prominent place on the ground floor of the hospital. And we basically we've got our hub, which is great, and we've had that now since sort of early last summer. And us as members of staff as well actually take turns to man the hub. But our idea of the volunteers are that more volunteers that we get, the less time we need to be down there doing that sort of reaching out to patients, so we can obviously get on with our day-to-day roles of the fundraising or the grant making. But we ask our volunteers to commit to doing a minimum of 2 shifts a month. Each shift.
Super flexible then.
Oh, we're really flexible. We work with their schedule. We really appreciate that these are people giving us their time. It's not so we work we work around their schedule. I send out, and this is what my volunteer officer will be doing when they arrive. But part of what I do is I send out the rota on a monthly basis and basically ask people what their availability is. So we're very grateful to those people giving their time. So we're certainly not mandating that they have to be in on a set day at a set time. It's what works best for them. But our charity hub is open Monday to Friday. Mm-hmm. And we do have 2 sort of shifts at the moment per day. We have a morning shift and an afternoon shift. And our volunteers come in and take one of those slots, as I say, according to their availability, rather than according to us mandating when they have to be in.
That's fantastic, because obviously it being the end of volunteer week, a lot of the volunteers that we've been hearing from have said that their biggest obstacle is the lack of flexibility sometimes, that it has to be, a minimum of 5 days a week, and they would have to commit to that, very regularly.
So that almost, sorry, that's to interrupt, that almost sounds like it's a paid role. You'd expect that from someone that is being paid to work, but these people are giving their time freely and very generously. So no, we are very happy to work as much as possible around their schedules.
Oh, fantastic. And obviously, as you all can see, as you're joining us live today, in the box below, you can see a link of a volunteer officer role that Moorfields and ourselves are currently recruiting for to help coordinate everything volunteered related. So Jo, tell us a little bit more then about that opportunity.
So our volunteer officer role will be responsible for the day-to-day management of the volunteers. So, they will be their contact point and ensuring that, things like the rotas are being sent out and done, and also supporting the volunteers whilst they're on site. But probably more excitingly, they're going to be able to come in and really help shape the programme. I've already mentioned that it's still a new programme. We're still in the early days. It's been less than a year since we've had our own volunteers in, and we want them to come in and help build and develop. Well, we have a strategy. We want them to build and develop that strategy and develop the opportunities that are available for our volunteers. Maybe some people watching will be unaware, but there are actually over 30 Moorfields Eye Hospital sites across London and the South East. So in time, whilst we only have capacity at the moment to be in the main hospital in City Road, in time we'd love to be able to expand our volunteer programme into some of our other sites and grow our reach there. So, that I think that's probably a phase 2 of it, but there's an expansion opportunity there. And as I say, it's such a new program that it's the perfect opportunity for someone that wants to come in and develop a career in volunteer management or engagement, and not just to take it on as it currently stands, but really put their stamp on the program and develop it. And we've got a lot to teach them, but hopefully they've got a lot to teach us as well. So, we're really open to that, and we're really, the right candidate will really bring that sort of energy and desire to make a difference and make a change. And we're really open for that as well. And not just in this role, I should say, that goes across all the roles that we're currently recruiting for.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound like, I know we said at the beginning, there's so much going on for you there in the sense of the campaign wise, but to obviously then join and to really be a part of something that's so unique and so special. Like you said, we had to put a pause on the volunteer program, and now it's obviously, you're ready to go with that. To be able to join at such a unique time is just, so exciting. And also opportunity to progress as well, as you said.
Yeah. And I should just say at this point, I know that I'm biased. I mean, I love working for the charity, but I really can say that anyone that is going to take on any of our roles, be it my volunteer officer role or any of the other fundraising or grant making roles that are currently being recruited for, and they will really be joining a fantastic team across the charity. And one of the joys of working at Moorfields Eye Charity is that we're based in the hospital. So we actually get to see the impact of what we're doing. And that's really gratifying and motivating. It's a really special place to work. It's very rare that I mention I work for Moorfields. I work for the charity, but obviously the association with Moorfields, and people are saying to me, oh, my grandma had their cataracts done there, or we were there. But and across the board, we get told really, really heartwarming, fantastic, grateful stories back from people. I get that all the time. So it's a really great place to work from the people point of view, but also very inspiring to actually be on site a lot of the time and see the work that we're doing and how that benefits Moorfields and its patients.
Absolutely. And for this volunteer officer role, it will be very much the case, isn't it? Whilst you're offering, aren't you, it's a mixture of hybrid working, a mixture of being obviously on site and at home at the same time, aren't you?
Yeah. As you can see, I'm currently at home today, but I'll be in the office tomorrow.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that brings us to the end of our catch up. Unless anyone has any questions, I know I've sort of been dipping in and answering and asking Jo as we've been going along. But if not, please do leave any comments, and we will always, myself or Jo, will get back to you if anything does come up. But Jo, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you, hear a little bit more about the journey and the future of volunteers and this specific role. And as Jo said, we are actually currently supporting Moorfields Eye Charity with a number of roles across the fundraising, grants and research department. So we have actually put together a microsite, which is a portal of knowledge of every single position that we're working on, which we will link in the comments, and it has been going along the banner below. But we also did post the microsite yesterday on Charity People's LinkedIn page. So everything will be there. Please do take a look and reach out. And thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Kate, as well, for having us. And it's been really a great opportunity. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks so much, Jo.